Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one gone, and another one gone, and another one bites the dust. Hey, I'm gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey. What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and I'm here to let you know that Bohemian Rhapsody is no perfect movie. And it chronicles the life of Freddie Mercury, played by Rami Malek, from the moment he meets and decides to join the band Queen up until their very awesome concert at Live Aid in '84. I would consider myself a casual fan of Queen. I do love a lot of their songs, but I don't really know that much about the band's history, at least not going in. And walking out of the movie, I can't say that I learned a ton about the band as a whole, but learning about the experiences that Freddie Mercury went through, at least as far as the movie is concerned, I had a really good time watching it, and a lot of it has to do with Rami Malek's performance. Dude completely disappears in the role to the point where I honestly forgot I was watching the dude from Mr. Robot. It really felt like I was watching Freddie Mercury. He nails the accent, he nails all of the little nuances that come into his body language and how he performs on stage. He is just as much of a natural showman in the movie as Mercury was in real life, and that is a tough thing to beat, and he did a really good job at it. This may not be one of the best movies of the year, but Malek's was definitely one of the best performances. As far as his singing goes, I know for a fact that they dubbed most of his voice with Mercury's own, because if you've listened to any of their songs more than once, you know what he sounds like on that track, and they use those exact tracks, and it is a little bit distracting, but it never got too much in the way because, again, Malek has his natural accent nailed to the bone. The concert sequences, as well, were a ton of fun to watch. Whether Bryan Singer directed most of them or Dexter Fletcher, I'm not entirely sure, but either way, they did a really good job at making you feel like you were at these classic and in some cases historic concerts, especially during Live Aid. That was so intense, and a lot of it had to do with just the scope of the stadium. It looks huge. You can tell how many people were there all at once. I'm not sure if they did that with CG or with a ton of real people, or if they combined it. They probably combined it, but either way, it looked completely seamless, and they were surprisingly very authentic with how many songs they performed in the amount of time that they had. As soon as they start doing Bohemian Rhapsody, they go right into Radio Gaga. The classic Ayo moment. I was dying to see that on stage, and I'm glad they did. And if you know how it ends, then you're gonna love it, because they recreate it almost flawlessly for that moment. And the direction of the entire movie itself was surprisingly really good. And I say surprisingly because a lot of people are bashing the direction, and I get the feeling a lot of it has to do with the fact that Bryan Singer was fired midway through and is facing certain allegations, which he's faced them before in the past. It's not really that big of a shock, but I mean, I prefer to judge the art over the artist, and if he did do most of it, I wouldn't be surprised if some stuff Fletcher added in, but for one, it never actually felt like I was watching a reshot movie. All of it felt as if it was consistent in regards to the style anyways. There are a lot of POV shots that make you feel like you're in those Queen concerts. There are a ton of montage sequences as you would expect from any musical biopic, but what made those ones good was that they were very careful over which Queen songs would play over each montage. For example, Fat Bottom Girls is playing during the middle of Freddie kind of questioning his sexuality, or the very beginning of the movie, which plays Somebody to Love, is very crucial because the majority of the movie focuses on Freddie's need to belong to something or someone. Why would he continue to work with Queen even though he's always showing up late, he's always disagreeing with the other band members, or why he's so dedicated to this one woman named Mary, who, I forget the actress's name, but she did a really good job. Why he's so committed with her despite the fact that he would rather be with certain men. Questions like that are, for the most part, well put together through the direction. One thing I'm also noticing critics say is that Mercury's portrayal was very sanitized. He shows up late all the time, he clashes with the other band members over what direction they should go as a band, and not only that, he cheats on his own girlfriend with male partners, which, it's not that she has a problem with him being gay, it's that she has a problem with him being unfaithful. Did the definition of sanitized change over the years? I'm not entirely sure. Almost every problem this movie has is exclusively in the script, because the biggest problem is that they try to cram in way too much about his personal life, regarding from his cultural heritage or his own even real name, because Mercury was not his real name. So many things about, like, what other men he had in his life as opposed to only one woman in his life, or even the other band members who get almost nothing to do. Like, I'll say this, they get the personality and looks right. The dude who plays Brian Taylor looks 100% like Brian Taylor, but that's really all that I remember about him, other than the fact that he was the one who came up with "We Will Rock You." I'm glad they kept that part in there, but again, it's only like glanced by for a few seconds. John Deacon, I forgot who he was. I only remember him talking like twice. And even his sexuality isn't looked into all that much in the movie, because at Queen's insistence, and the reason that Sacha Baron Cohen left in the first place is because he wanted it to be a rated R movie to explore even more of his personal life and the struggles that he went through, which, from what I hear in the news, would have been a better movie, but for some reason, Queen wanted it to be PG-13, which I don't understand that. Like, there's nothing in this finished product that is going to appeal to 13 and under. I'll say this flat out, teenagers are not going to give a shit about this movie. Yes, there will be concert sequences that'll keep them from being bored, but they're not going to care about anything else in this movie. This movie should be strictly for big fans of Queen, and they're the ones, surprisingly, who are pissed off the most about this movie. Hell, not even surprisingly, because they know most of the facts. They know about the one radio DJ who Mercury had a huge relationship with during the 70s or 80s, as far as I'm concerned. But in this movie, he's only in one scene, and that's just to put Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio. His actual life partner is in, like, 2 to 3 scenes, and they treat it in a very conventional sense where they kind of meet each other after so many years apart by complete luck that just happens to be on Live Aid, which, you know for a fact that stuff is made up, and you know that it's a fantasy. The first 20 minutes have a very awkward way of feeling rushed and slow at the same time, because it takes a decent amount of slow pacing when he does meet the band and decides he wants to join them. But when they're starting to build themselves up as a big band by recording outside of the box, it's glanced over as to how they create music in a new and fresh way, which is, again, something I really wanted to see in the movie that you see for a few moments, and it's awesome when you do, but it's not really looked into that much. The most you get is when you see them arguing with a music executive played by Mike Myers about Bohemian Rhapsody, and when you hear me say that, you probably know exactly what jokes this movie is going to make, and they do. And you know what? It was alright. Now, despite how mad I seem in this video, I am glad that I saw Bohemian Rhapsody, and I had a good time. I knew for a fact that most of this stuff was just going to be made up shit, and I'd be lucky if I learned anything about Mercury in the first place, and I learned a few things, and I'm glad I did. And despite how pissed people are about how it misrepresents him, this isn't a documentary. We know for a fact what we're watching is a fictional representation, and if you want to know more about him, go look him up. It's that simple. Rami Malek's performance was Oscar-worthy, no doubt about that. The concert performances, if anything, are one of the other reasons to go see this movie alone. I would pay money just to see Live Aid all over again. It's just, I was kind of hoping for maybe just a little bit more of the band members, a little bit more of his heritage, and even a little bit more about who his other partners were as opposed to Mary Austin. I'm glad they put any effort into her at all. I thought they were going to focus exclusively on his male partners, but you know what? I'm glad they took certain risks. Well, this is the second Rami Malek movie where I am kind of confused over what to say, because, again, ironically, just like Papillon, there's a lot to admire and a lot to kind of be pissed off with, and for that reason, I'm going to give Bohemian Rhapsody a 3 out of 5. Well, guys, I'm not entirely sure how jumbled this video is going to feel, but, on a side note, what did you think about Bohemian Rhapsody if you saw it? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and Khaleb, tune us out.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more No Perfect Movie reviews.